Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. In this video I want to show you some of the features of SabreCSG, as many as I can pack into a tight video. In my previous video I showed you how to install it, so now just create a CSG. Now you can change this to a prism or a cylinder or a sphere or an icosahedron or a cone. Let's start with a cube. And let's actually click on this applied brush here and duplicate it. And then if you grab one of these sides, you can drag it up or down. Drag it around by that side. Or you can use the typical translate tools like that. I'm actually going to click on position snapping. And then you can go by grids. So I'm going to make it about halfway up. And I'm going to switch the second one to a sphere. If at that point I switch the sphere from add to subtract mode, you can do that with the A or the S keys as well. And then I hit rebuild. It's actually going to subtract the shape of the sphere from the shape of the cube. That's one of the coolest features of SabreCSG that not many other tools have. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but ProBuilder does not have that. So let's take a look at this other really cool tool really cool feature. Click on the CSG model, and let's move over a little bit and add, if you want to add a new model, by the way, you click here. Each of these adds a new model. You can add stairs, curved stairs, icosahedrons, things like that. Let's move over here and add a 2D shape editor, a 2D shape. Now, forget about this. This is the default 2D shape, but I'm going to click on Show Editor, and if this has anything in it, then you can click on New Project, yes, and make a new project. This has some amazing features in it. Here's Save and Open, but these things affect the shape itself as you're drawing it. These affect the line that you're drawing, and these render it back to Unity, to the build. I'm going to click on Auto Rebuild because that'll help when we're rendering. So otherwise you just have to click Rebuild every time. And if it slows down too much, that's because you're auto rebuilding. Okay. So I'll go back to the 2D editor. One of the coolest things you can do with this is switch a line from a line to a Bezier curve, like this. And you can change the accuracy of it like this. You can change it to very high accuracy, which will of course be more difficult for it to render. So I'm going to switch it to 6. It's not too bad, but it looks pretty smooth. And I'm going to do the same thing on this line. I'm going to make it stick out like that. And change it to 3. I'm also going to add on this corner, I'm going to use this split segments. And also, if you click on these corners, that's how you select the segments. Clicking on a specific adjacent corner. I'm also going to split this one. And I'm going to drag this down here and drag this down here. Drag this in here. And then I think I'm going to delete that segment and make this segment into a Bezier curve. Curve it in like this. Okay. And now, if you click on this, this creates a polygon in Unity. Now, the polygon's flat, so there's not a whole lot you can do with that. But you can see that it represents the shape that we were just making. However, there's some really cool stuff you can do. You have to select the brush that you were working on for these to work. Like if I click on that, these are grayed out. So this is probably the coolest one. I'm going to wait for a minute to do that one. Here's Extrude Shape. Let's make it 25. It's going to make a big long bar of exactly that shape. Then let's go back to the shape editor for that shape And if you want, you can leave that there, duplicate it, and move it over. And then you can do other things to this one. So let's do this one. This one's extrude to a point. So it's going to make a sort of a pyramid out of this shape with this shape as the base of the pyramid. So let's say not 25, but 3. Extrude. See that? Okay. Now, this is related to that. This one's called Extrude Beveled. And it's related to extrude to point because if you set depth to 3 and clip depth to 3, it does exactly what extrude to point does. It's exactly the same shape. But if you set clip depth lower than the depth, like 1.5, then it's going to cut off about halfway, probably about right there. Yeah. And if you set it to 0.5, cuts off that way. And so it's a beveled, flat-topped thing. Now, I mentioned a minute ago that this one was the coolest. It's called Revolve Shape, and this is something I haven't seen any other tool do in Unity at all. And the only thing I've seen that's slightly similar to this is the Follow Me tool in SketchUp, which is a really advanced tool, and almost nobody else has that as well. So let's go back to it. If we click on it, it's going to have an error. Okay, it says the global pivot must be completely to the left or the right of all the shapes. Well, I didn't talk about the pivot yet, but it's hard to see, but this little green dot is the pivot. So I can pick it up and move it around. And the reason this matters is it helps you edit this point, edit the whole picture. The rotate and the flip move around the pivot. So you can flip horizontally around that pivot. And if I move this over to here, it'll flip horizontally around that pivot. Does that make sense? Flip vertically around that pivot, rotate around that pivot. So it matters for those reasons. But the other thing it matters for is this tool. Before I do this duplicates the shape that you're on, and you have to select the actual shape. Then it'll duplicate it. This will delete that shape. It'll also delete segments. You can add a new square if you want, and select it. Oops. Select it to delete it. Okay. Those are the major features of this tool. All right. Now, it said that I had to have this pivot off to the left or the right because it's going to take that pivot point, and that's going to be the middle of the quote, air quote, donut. So I'll show you what I mean. This means 8 steps for 360 degrees, and this means how many steps are you going to take this time. And you'll see what I mean in just a sec, but let's make this 8 and 8. That way it'll make a circle. Revolve. There we go. It made a donut out of that shape with all of its little intricacies. And let's go back to it. You can change it to 4 and it'll make a half donut. Or you can make it a much more carefully plotted out donut. It's much smoother. The other thing worth mentioning here is that each of these shape editor brushes has a different shape in here, somewhat obviously. So if I select this shape editor brush and hit show editor, well, it's got the latest shape editor brush that I was using. Now you can save and load those so that if you want to use this shape later or even in another project, you can do that. But the easiest way is to hit load project. Are you sure you want to load the embedded project? Any unsaved work will be lost. Yeah. So that's this one. But then on this one, if I hit show editor, it's still that. But if I hit load project, then it's this one. So you can switch back and forth between your projects. the projects for the shape editor brushes that you've still got easily using Load Project. Now, those are the major features of this tool. It's pretty incredible. And I think that's all I wanted to show you in this video. But that's a lot. It can do a lot. So, thanks for watching this video. And if you liked it, hit the like button below. And if you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. But whether you do or not, I appreciate you coming and watching this video. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you in the next video.